Greetings, beautiful Earthlings. Greetings and welcome to a special, different, and exciting Tarot Tuesday. Today is the first in a series of videos that I've decided to make for you guys because over the last year or so, I've had close to a dozen of you come to me with questions about the basics of tarot. Like, why do I do it? How do you do it? How do you read? People who are interested in getting decks of their own. A lot of people are getting their first decks this year. And it was, in fact, a really dear friend of mine, a fellow Pisces. What's up, Steph? Who got her first tarot deck for Christmas. And she contacted me, and she was at least the fifth person who's contacted me with questions on, like, how do I get started? So I decided that this was a series that I wanted to make. So in this video, we're just going to be giving you the basics about traditional tarot, including the major and the minor arcana, all of the different houses. And we're also going to touch a little bit on how you can get to know your cards, how to care for your deck, as well as how to kind of best get your like feel for your tarot flow for all of you budding tarotistas out there. I'm really excited to be bringing this knowledge to you guys. I am by no means a tarot expert. I've only been doing tarot for maybe like 3 or 4 years, but I have been clairvoyant my whole life and I've used different mediums forever. So once I kind of got involved in tarot, I really just kind of I liked how it gave me some order as far as my prayers and my meditation and kind of essentially like what a lot of people are like, like what can I get out of tarot? So for me, I use tarot as advice on which areas of my life to focus on. And a lot of times I really just use my pulls as a way to coach me out of my own way, so to speak. So I'm really excited to get you guys going. So for those of you who are interested in acquiring a tarot deck or learning how to do tarot, the first thing that I recommend is that you choose a deck that really makes sense to you. So this is the first deck that I ever worked from, first deck that I ever purchased. It's the Herbal Tarot by Michael Tierra, who is actually an herbalist. And this is a very traditional type tarot deck. The Rider Waite is the original traditional tarot. It's very kind of like generic looking in that, and this one is no different. All of the characters are like Caucasian. It's sort of like traditional. These days, there are tons of different types of not only tarot decks, but oracle decks as well. Next week, we're going to get into what's the difference between a tarot deck and an oracle deck and how you can effectively use either or both separately or together. So, choosing your deck, something that calls to you, something that speaks to you. I'm a budding herbalist, and so this to me was something that, like, immediately I knew was my deck. So once your deck arrives, you want to activate it and charge it and just sort of like spend some time with your deck. Spend some time looking at the illustrations. What I like to do when I get a new deck is I go sit in the sun, in the grass or the sand or something, get into the elements if you can, drink a glass of water before you do this so that you're hydrated and centered. And just looking at each card, think about activating each card and connecting to it. By activating, I mean bringing its essence to life in your life. So a lot of people will knock on their decks to activate them. I do that a lot. A lot of times I'll spread them in the sun. I like to also spend time around my cats with my decks just to see how the animals interact with the cards. My cats love it when I am shuffling and doing tarot as well. So and a lot of times when you purchase a deck, in the booklet that it comes with, this particular deck comes with a tiny booklet because it's really traditional, but especially like more current oracle decks come with like big books that look like novels, really, honestly. So spending some time just activating that, getting to know, there are a lot of times in the beginning of those card deck books, you'll have different spreads to do. So they'll tell you how to do the 3 card spread. They'll tell you how to do like a 10 card sometimes, or a Celtic cross. A lot of times they will tell you how specifically you can activate your cards. So once your cards are activated, you're ready to do your first pull. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to do a 3 card pull. It's other than just a 1 card pull, it's among the most basic, but also sort of like all encompassing. So I think you guys are going to like that. As far as shuffling goes, I always encourage new people who are new to tarot, just shuffle however your intuition tells you to shuffle. If you're dealing with a deck that has reverse meanings, which is up to you to look into, a lot of times your interpretation book will give you reverse meanings. So this deck, for example, does. So I definitely do tend to take the reverse meanings. Sometimes if you have a card that, say, for example, tends to have a negative connotation, but that card comes through reversed in your deck, then a lot of times that will bring through the opposite of that negative connotation. So you can think of it that way. But really, honestly, you guys, the most important thing with tarot is to remember that the cards are really only part of the medium, as are you, the conduit who's shuffling them. Know who you're reaching out to when you're asking for a message through your tarot cards. So if you have particular ascended masters who you follow, or if you have ancestors who you are pretty sure are around you, go ahead and bring in their energy. And if you have, say, for example, like a piece of their jewelry, bring it into the read, wear it. Make sure you smudge it first. And then, of course, setting your intention. So as you're shuffling, just thinking about what it is that you would like to bring through with this message. So, for example, if you have a specific question, ask that question in your head as you're shuffling, whatever it is. And then once you kind of get that feeling of like, okay, this is it, the cards are shuffled, it's really, this is the fun part, because this is where you bring in the whimsy. You just have to go with your intuition. So it's like a really good kind of like practice on listening to your gut. So I'm going to show you what a 3 card read looks like. We have finished shuffling. This is going to be a collective message for everybody today. So in a 3 card read, the first card is called your present state card. So this card is going to bring through messages that speak to where you are right now. It can speak to your situation or people who are kind of like in your environment affecting your situation. This also can speak to past situations that contribute to where you find yourself right now. So that's card number 1. And for the collective conscious, we've pulled the suspended person. I'll kind of go a little bit into the readings as well. But really, this is kind of just more like a skeleton for you guys, just to know how to kind of like pull the cards and see what comes through. Because a lot of times, what comes through for you is not necessarily what's going to come through for the next person. So, this is your present state card. This makes a ton of sense, by the way, for the collective conscious as the suspended person, because this card indicates somebody who sort of feels like they've got their hands tied about certain situations, and that there are decisions that are perhaps up in the air. So this is representing all of us right now. I'm going to turn and face it toward you guys. Card number 2 is called your immediate influence card. So this card represents people, situations, and energies that are crossing your path. In other words, you're walking toward this situation. So this is a good time to kind of like pull some predictive energies and just sort of like prepare you for situations that you're walking toward. So for our immediate influence card, card number 2, we've chosen Saffron, the 3 of Wands. We're going to go into talking about the houses of the minor arcana a little bit later on as well. So that's going to be card number 1 and card number 2. And then in your 3 card draw, card number 3 represents your ultimate destiny card. So this card is going to bring through information to this read with regard to who you are as a soul and your higher self, as well as your ultimate gift to this to this world. So it kind of speaks to like what is your life calling and how that can kind of tie up what's going on in your present state card as well as your immediate influence card. So it sort of like ties everything together. So this is the Seven of Swords, and it did come through reversed. And so that's going to be a reversed meaning in this deck because this deck does in fact give reverse meanings. So for card number one, this is traditionally how we would set up your read. You are here represented by card number one, the suspended person. Card number two is crossing your path, and that's why we cross it across the front of card number one. And then card number three is said to crown the questioner. So it's up here around the crown of these two. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the book, and now we're in your present state card is the suspended person. A lot of times also called the hanged one or the hanged man. So this is from the major arcana. The two, you can kind of sort of think like the Old Testament and the New Testament. So in the major arcana, these are sort of like solitary cards that have their own robust meaning. They're sort of a major, as indicated by the title, sort of a major indication coming through. So might be a major arcana card might come through when you're going through something big or when you're expecting something big coming up. So the suspended person, Kelp, like I mentioned, this is card number 12 in the major arcana. This is all about hardening toward life, lack of compassion, harshness, and callousness in dealing with others. So the divinatory meanings are finding one's own way, returning to the source, initiation, spiritual breakthroughs, and inner commitment. So what we're getting through for the conscious collective in card number one is right now you're feeling suspended, but get ready for a major breakthrough. So don't worry so much about this feeling that your hands are tied and that you're not able to do anything at this moment, because that's just a cycle of life. You will soon get untangled, unenmeshed is what I was trying to say, from this kelp. So we're moving on to card number two now. And that card, a lot of times, can kind of like bring in extra information and extra meaning. So we're going to skip to the House of Wands. Now, Wands is one of the four houses in the minor arcana. The House of Wands typically speaks to the individual or the questioner's relationship with kind of like the universe and the world. Whereas the House of Swords, a lot of times can speak to inner conflicts or conflicts from within. And a lot of times it will bring in the illusion of external attack or conflicts. But mostly the House of Swords is talking about, and I've got itchy nose for confirmation, conflicts within yourself. We have the House of Cups, which speaks to like water, fluidity. So that speaks to your relationship with other people, people in your life, your loved ones, friends, family, and neighbors. And then the House of Pentacles is going to be bringing through, as you might imagine, worldly messages. So messages about material things, money, possessions, things happening to your possessions, etc. So it's interesting that we had two cards from the House of, oh no, I'm sorry, we had Wands and Swords. So we had no cups, we had no pentacles. So with the Three of Wands, this is something that we mentioned is crossing your path. So you're walking toward this situation. Saffron means the end is in sight. Only a little more is left to do and picking up loose ends. Those are really two good messages to have kind of back to one another. You've got the suspended person, and then you've got your Three of Wands, and the suspended person is telling you you've got your hands tied right now, and the Three of Wands is telling you, but soon you're going to have this breakthrough. So far the three card read making a lot of sense. And then moving into the sword. So this is, once again, this is your ultimate destiny card, and this is speaking to an inner battle or some kind of conflict that you're having with yourself. So seeing as how this is your ultimate destiny card, this really has a lot of importance because it can help you now. So it's almost as if you're getting a message from your higher self to get you through what's going on right now. So your Seven of Swords, and remember this was reversed, so we can take that reverse meaning. So this is speaking to private agendas, unforthrightness, and a person who cannot be trusted. Ooh, so that would be something for you to really kind of dive into, because now you're kind of tying everything together. It's like, okay, so am I meant to be looking out for somebody who can't be trusted? This sort of like higher learning holistic message that could be coming through from your ultimate destiny card could be that you have a sort of like ultimate destiny pattern of over trusting people. So as you're preparing from card number one, the suspended person, to become unsuspended, indicated by card number two, the three of wands, that soon your path is going to be cleared. Just making sure that you're being discerning and leaning on your higher power. And I'm getting like a lot of like um that that strong ancestral power that your lineage has for you. So like they're standing behind you, just really begging you not to take any bullshit. And so this actually feels like a great protection card for the conscious collective right now. And that is your three card read. And so, if this were your read, and this was your new deck that you had, just acquired, it's fun to kind of sit with it, sit with your crystals, light a candle, and ask yourself really, what is my higher self trying to bring through with these? That's really how you kind of start to tap into that inner clairvoyant. So, I hope that those of you who do have new decks, maybe you can try out a three-card read for yourself. Make sure you activate your cards and just have a really fun time with this. Remember not to take it too super seriously. Remember that all of these messages coming through are in love and light. So they're coming from a benevolent source that wants to help you. So just ask yourself as you're reading these cards, how is my higher self trying to help me get out of my own way and answer this question for me? I hope you guys really enjoyed this. And like I mentioned, next week I'm going to be bringing you the difference between tarot and oracle cards and how oracle cards can help give you advice throughout your week as well. Happy Tarot Tuesday, beautiful Earthlings. Happy Tarot Tuesday. I hope you guys have the most beautiful week ever. I love you so, so very much. Be kind to yourself and one another. And until I see you, be blessed.